Can you hear me now? Can you guys hear me now?
Devin?
Yeah, I can hear you, Dave.
I can hear you.
Hey, Josh, I had to turn my microphone on.
So, what do you think of Game of Thrones versus The Office, Dev?
I was Game of Thrones versus Office. Yeah.
Oh, okay, there we go. We're good.
Game of Thrones versus The Office.
Isn't that, or I guess it was Breaking Bad that one.
Yeah, no, Breaking Bad.
Yeah,
What's up, Jared?
I took Breaking Bad for sure.
Yeah, I love them both. They should have been on opposite sides of the bracket, though.
Oh, that I said from the beginning that was the championship.
Yeah, the other side of the bracket, I didn't really see too many of those shows.
It would have been. It would have been hard either way. I didn't want to put. I mean, maybe at the end of the day, I should have put both the drama regions on the same side, But I kind of didn't want to put them both on the same side either.
That happens a lot in sports.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine a Final Four that included Game of Thrones against Breaking Bad, though?
Yeah, see, that would have. Well, I mean, but Game of Thrones was in sci-fi, and I could have, should have, would have put it in drama as well, but I decided to move it to sci-fi. So, but yeah,
that would have just been absurd.
Yeah, it would have been crazy. Let's see. Okay, so Dodger will be in a little bit. I think Derek said he might come in, and Eddie possibly should be here.
Where's Carter?
He said Carter had another meeting at 5. He was doing a Zoom meeting.
Another fantasy draft?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Probably.
He might be in. He might
Probably
come in
because this league sucks.
Yeah, this is the worst league. This league is awful. I don't know.
Are we getting
Ryan said he would be in. He said he might be able to do it. And then he was super hammered apparently earlier, random middle of the day. But hey, whatever, it works. Times are tough right now. Times are tough.
I think we've all been there.
Yeah, let's just get started, I guess. I basically what I wanted to do for this video was kind of just, we have our final results that we all voted on. Some are happier than others at the final results, but I kind of wanted to go just briefly through each region, and if you have any quick thoughts about it, or if you have obviously a major issue with it, then we'll go, we can go that. And then I have a few questions that I wanted to ask everybody about it. So, I mean, let's just start with the first drama 1 region. Breaking Bad was obviously our winner there. I don't think that's a huge surprise. I know, Jared, you picked Band of Brothers, which made it to the Sweet 16. I think
I was the only one, apparently.
Yeah, I think you were either you were the only one, or maybe Eddie might have had Dexter in the Final Four. And actually Ryan had, I want to say Sherlock. Ryan had Sherlock in the Final Four. So, I mean, there was a few that, didn't have Breaking Bad. But I guess my first question is, if not Breaking Bad, what was the definitive second best show? And I don't mean it to mean Dexter, who was the Elite 8 member with it, but what show was the second best? I know, Jared, you'll say Band of Brothers probably, right?
Correct.
What about you, Devin? What do you think is the definitive second best show in that group in your mind?
I would have gone with Dexter. I mean, I loved Dexter. That was one of my favorite shows for sure.
And then David, I'm gonna guess Sherlock for you, maybe, or what do you?
I like Dexter as well, but Sherlock was really good. I really like Sherlock. I think Benedict's a beast in it.
He's a good actor, definitely. Really weird looking guy, but he's a good actor.
Yeah, I like him.
I don't know. I'm having trouble with this one because for me it was like Breaking Bad was so like head and shoulders above every other show in that bracket. So I don't know that I can pick like a second one. I mean, I've heard good things about Dexter, obviously. I did like Band of Brothers. So, I mean, maybe I'd go with Band of Brothers for that one. I thought it was a good show. What would you guys say is a show that should have been in this region? What's another drama that maybe we missed or that didn't make the cut? David, I'll start with you first.
I would have said the first season of Prison Break.
Okay. Well, we can't just cut it off at one season.
Okay, but
we'll throw Prison Break in there. All right.
I'd say Prison Break.
Okay. What about you, Devin?
Super specific.
Man, I don't know. I really don't have like any other like big show that I watched that I was like upset wasn't there.
Yeah.
I mean, it was pretty much every show that I was super into made it on the list. Pretty much every single one. Not every single one, but pretty much. So I can't really think of like a big one that was really glaring that was missing.
Yeah, I mean, I cut off some older shows. Like I know Niska was really upset about like Law and Order. Any of those, like he's into his feels about Law and Order, but I just really didn't like. I don't know. I didn't feel like this crowd that we have here would have really latched on or has latched on to Law and Order that much. So I didn't throw it in there. I felt like there were some others that maybe should have made it.
Yeah, my wife was pissed that Grey's Anatomy wasn't there, but.
Yeah, that was on there. I mean, that was on my like list of shows. Obviously, you know, that's a super popular for I think a little bit older crowd too. But you know, some of us are definitely into it.
I was glad there.
Yeah.
Jared, you Peaky Blinders. Yeah, Peaky Blinders is one that I would have gone with. That's a pretty sick show.
I've heard good things about that too, and I think it's had what four or five seasons. Jared, am I wrong? Maybe three seasons even about that. But I've heard some good things about Peaky Blinders.
I think it's 5 or 6. Yeah, it's been around for a little bit, but it's just one of those like, you know, it's about 100 years ago, so it's kind of like the Gangs of New York style, just British debauchery.
Yeah, I have that one I've added that one to my watch list because I have heard good things about it. Yeah, that's a good pick, honestly, too. I was trying to think of like shows that are like ongoing still or really recent, you know, that maybe didn't make the cut. And so Peaky Blinders is a good one. I wasn't a Prison Break guy, didn't watch that one, but I know a lot of people like that one too, David. My last question I wanted to ask you guys is, what was the toughest matchup maybe for everybody in this whole region? It could have been a first round one. It could have been the Elite Eight. What do you think was the toughest for each of you? I guess I'll start. I'll go with I want to say, like I said, Breaking Bad to me kind of ran through this whole bracket. It wasn't too difficult. For me, it was the hardest one was the first round matchup between Band of Brothers and Narcos. And I said why, you know, I prefer Narcos and like Narcos in the last video. So that one was difficult for me. I really did enjoy both shows. But Jared, what was your toughest matchup?
I kind of got two of them, and that's Office versus Chappelle Show.
No, just in drama.
Oh, drama. I'm sorry.
Yeah, just in the first round region.
Probably Deadwood versus NYPD Blue, just because like I didn't really know either of them. I had to do a little research.
Okay.
So I would say either that or Dexter and 6 Feet Under.
So you went the other way around then with that question, which is interesting because you just were saying you didn't really know. That's a good way to think about it because I guess looking back at the bracket, I could be like, I mean, West Wing and Oz was hard for me because I don't really know anything about Oz and don't care about West Wing. You know, that's a good way to look at it.
I literally just went and watched the trailers for the ones that I didn't know.
The fact that you did research is pretty impressive.
Way more did, man. I just went with a higher seed.
I was like, I've heard of the show. Okay,
it's a tough time of life.
Devin, what was your toughest matchup?
Mine was Better Call Saul versus Sherlock in the second round. That one was tough for me because I really liked Sherlock, but I was more into Better Call Saul, so that one went a little further for me.
Okay, good answer. And then David, what about you?
I didn't think any of them this one were hard. I thought Breaking Bad was just
Yeah.
click through all the way. It didn't really matter to me.
Right. It was a fillable form all the way for you, right?
Yeah, that was pretty easy.
Let's move on to comedy. We'll go down the bracket here. I think all of us, again, this was kind of, I think The Office was going to run through this bracket, this side of the region, this region for everybody for the most part. I know there's some Seinfeld fans in there. There's a couple people that just haven't seen The Office, so I guess that makes sense. But again, at least for I think all four of us here, The Office was always going to win. I'll go the other way around and start toughest matchup here. Jared, you can go ahead and kick us off because I know yours is definitely going to be The Office versus Chappelle's Show, and you definitely you had some thoughts, some feelings in our last chat, but go ahead and give us some more of your brain here.
So like when you first put out the bracket, I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Like those are two of my all-time favorite shows. Like Chappelle's Show, obviously from the last video. Like anybody can go back and rewatch that. How I feel about it, but like that one holds a special place for me because I was just a young buckshorn on my first deployment, and Chappelle's Show was like my comfort. But I mean, The Office was gonna win. But if you put Chappelle's Show up against anything else, I think the only other thing I would have it lose to is Parks and Rec. I would take Chappelle's Show over everything else.
Okay, then Jared, let me ask you the very next question too. Is Chappelle's Show or Parks and Rec your definitive like second best in this region?
I want to say that Parks and Rec is number 2, but because it is so similar to The Office, it's the same writers, it's kind of the same theme. Parks and Rec department is in an office, and then The Office is actually in an office. So I would say Chappelle's Show because it was so like groundbreaking.
Yeah. Devin, why don't you go ahead and answer both of those questions too? What was your toughest matchup, and then what's your second best?
My toughest matchup was actually that play-in, How I Met Your Mother vs. Scrubs. That was rough on me. Those are two of my favorite shows ever. How I Met Your Mother has a special place in my heart. Like that. That's kind of the same thing like Jared was talking about with Chappelle's Show. So like when I first moved out to Oklahoma, man, that was like the show I watched nonstop. That was always what I had in the background. It was the show I woke up watching. I loved that show. It kind of got me through some tough times in Oklahoma. So that one really holds like a soft spot. Scrubs was like an awesome show. So it was really hard for me to pick between those two. And either way, they were going to destroy Seinfeld. Seinfeld sucked. I'm going to say that as much as I want to because nobody else. But as far as second best, well, man, I mean, I had Sunny going to the Elite Eight, but man, I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're covering your mic, by the way, Devin.
Oh, my bad, dude.
There we go. I was gonna let you finish, but I couldn't hear anything you were saying.
I saw a break.
I know you said Scrubs. You said Scrubs, and you said Chappelle's Show in there. I got that much.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I would have to say probably How I Met Your Mother or Sunny would go second for me. I picked Sunny in my bracket over How I Met Your Mother, but I have second thoughts on that because that was more my wife talking than it was me. So
her pulling the strings there.
Yeah, she had a major hand in my bracket. I'll tell you that.
Okay, is your wife a big TV watcher?
Oh yeah. She's got all the shows, man. All the shows. I can never watch a show by myself because she wants to watch it too. But she has like 18,000 shows she watches without me. So
yeah, I get
she's
that.
all about the shows.
David,
Yeah,
go ahead with your toughest matchup and your second best in this bracket.
Oh, mine's like similar to Devin's. How I Met Your Mother, I thought is the clear number 2 for me. And then, I mean, me and Devin used to watch How I Met Your Mother, like binge watch it on Friday nights. And then, I don't know, it just got that. It's like the first one I ever watched.
That makes us sound like huge losers, dude.
Yeah, it did, but we were young.
I was thinking that.
We used to watch together. It's all good.
Good thing there's only 4 of us in here.
I know, right?
It's not like anyone else is
So
going to watch
glad.
the YouTube video, It's okay.
We cut it on David's couch and ate pizza and watched How I Met Your Mother on Friday nights. That's what we did.
Yeah, That
sounds fun, honestly. I'd take that, especially right now. I'd be like, just give me some pizza and watch a good show. That's for sure.
That reminds me of how Superbad starts.
Just having some friends over for some drinks, watching a film,
Watching a film, yeah. We went a couple places.
I would say, so for my toughest matchup in this bracket, it was definitely, let's see. When I filled out my own bracket, the definite hardest one for me was Scrubs versus Parks and Rec, which would have been in the Sweet 16, because I definitely like both of those shows. I know in our big bracket it didn't make it that far, but so then for me the definitive second best show was Scrubs. I just I talked about it on Monday when we did this or whenever it was, and how I love Scrubs. I've watched every episode multiple times. Throw it when it's on Comedy Central, reruns, I'll throw it on there. And then Jared, that podcast that you sent to us that I saw, I listened to that episode too, the pilot of that podcast. So that looks like it's going to be sick to just throw on there. Yeah, I was a huge Scrubs fan. So that was definitely my second best show in there.
Man, I wish Scrubs hadn't done the whole last season that they did. That was just...
Yeah, I don't think of that. I don't include that.
End. Yeah, dude, they tried to get a whole new crew in there, man. It was terrible. I don't know what the hell they were thinking.
It got picked up for season 9. Eddie, there we go. Eddie's in. We'll get Eddie's thoughts.
Guilt tripped him.
You did. I saw that. We'll get Eddie's thoughts in a second. But yeah, no, season 9 of Scrubs was they wanted to keep it going with med students, in this new hospital, and JD and Turk were supposed to be there still. And I think I don't know. It just went off I think it lasted literally 5 or 6, half a season. And then NBC was like, no, we're not doing this. It's not anything. So that was super disappointing, but I don't think of Scrubs as that. I think the way they ended season 8 was perfect. The My finale episode was a perfect episode. And
it really was. When he walks out the hospital, the whole hospital lined with all those people, dude, that was freaking perfect, man. They should have just.
It was great. Yep, it was good.
But they didn't.
All right, let's do shows that this could be an exhaustive list, of course, but shows that could have, should have, would have been in this comedy region here. David in the dark there. Why don't you start us off? You got one? It's all good. We can see you. I'm just kidding.
I don't know. I thought all the shows that I like for comedies were in there. I can't really think of one that I would have. Everybody Lived Raymond was a good one, but it wouldn't have won for me. It's another one of those brackets where it kind of was already done before it started.
Yeah, as the officer bust for most people. I'll give one. I think it's still ongoing and new, and honestly, nobody talks about it at all. But I think it's pretty funny, and that's Superstore. Have you ever watched Superstore? Anybody?
I've heard people talk about it. I think I've seen a couple episodes. It was pretty funny, but
yeah, I think it's funny. It's an easy watch. It's a good it's a quick 25 minutes, and it keeps me entertained. It's funny, so I would maybe throw that one in. But it just doesn't have the following. Go for it, Eddie.
Completely agree with Superstore. It's a slow burn to start with, but it does get going pretty well, and I burned through those episodes. To go back, I logged in with the Scrubs comment. So is everyone aware, the Office ladies, so Pam and Angela are doing a rewatch podcast?
Yeah, I saw that or heard about that.
So JD and Turk are doing a Scrubs podcast. Shea Serrano just posted the first episode today.
Yeah, we just talked about that right before you logged in, Jared, because Jared sent it to us too in the chat. I listened to it. Jared, did you listen to the first episode of the podcast or no?
No, I haven't downloaded, but I haven't had a chance to. I had to do some shit at work today, so.
It's good. It's a good easy listen as well, and it's funny. It's funny. It's Zach Braff and what's his face? I know him as Turk. I can't even think of his real name.
Donald Faison.
There we go. Yeah. So they're funny together. It's a good podcast. Jared, you got a show that maybe should have been added to this bracket or this region?
It's kind of niche, but I would have liked to see. I quote it all the time. It's called Workaholics. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Workaholics.
It's so fun. Yeah. it's funny. So like at work, my boss is this chief warrant officer, and he's been in the Army for like 26 years. So he's been in for super long. He's like in his mid 40s. But so like whenever something's super lame, I've got him saying loose butthole now. So he's like this dude, almost 50 years old, and he's like, he'll be like, "Yo, this shit's so loose butthole," and I'm like, "You're so right, chief."
Devin,
Thanks,
do you
babe.
got a show that should be added that maybe you used to like to watch or that you miss?
I mean, we talked about it a lot in the group chat. I think a lot of the old shows kind of got overlooked. Just, and I know that you kind of pulled out some of the old ones, but
Yeah.
even just like David said, Everybody Loves Raymond or King of Queens, stuff like that. Man, those would have held some nostalgia factor for me. I would have pushed those a little further. If those had been.
King of Queens like didn't show up on the lists. Honestly,
That's
it was not on
insane.
there.
That shows money.
Everybody
I love
Loves
King of
Raymond.
Queens.
Yeah, it's a funny one. Everybody Loves Raymond was on a couple like lists, but it didn't get a high rating. The one that I pulled off that maybe I could have left, and JD said it in the chat, was Cheers. I know that has like one of that like super nostalgic feel for a lot of. I think it's like the generation just above us for the most part,
Yeah.
But and that one ranked high enough to be in the bracket itself, but I pulled that one off. So I just felt like again most of us wouldn't have picked it. So
yeah, I feel like Cheers was kind of off air by the time we got to really watching TV.
Yeah. Eddie, so we've been given I gave a few questions here. Go ahead and why don't you give us, for the comedy region, the definitive second best show in this region for you. It doesn't have to be, Parks and Rec, which finished second, but what's your second best show? And then also what was your toughest matchup in this comedy region for you to pick?
So, honestly, I think my second best show for the comedy is It's Always Sunny, even though I had Seinfeld over it. I think that matchup, Seinfeld versus Sunny, was probably the hardest for me. But yeah, It's Always Sunny for me.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of was thinking we were going to get more love for It's Always Sunny in the bracket because again, just Jared, Devin, David went to the same damn high school, and like I feel like everybody was watching it and talking about it in high school, like everybody. So I thought maybe we'd have had some more love for it, but
I don't know,
with
man. Me and David were in the Mormon group. We didn't really talk about It's Always Sunny.
That's right. You guys were too busy watching How I Met Your Mother instead of catching the newest
Exactly.
on our couch.
So I don't know
right.
how many other people did, but I took It's Always Sunny over was it SNL? I took it over that. And then
what did it get?
I basically
it got how many votes? I mean, it was 6-6, so it was half. I guess I was expecting it to beat SNL, honestly, but half of the league voted for it.
I had Sunny in my Elite Eight.
Wow.
yeah,
I
I thought it was
The Office for me.
I thought it was a great show. And then I hung out with the Mormons for the girls, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
On that note, let's slide on into their DMs. I mean, let's slide on over to the sci-fi region. Again, this for me, I know Devin and Jared, you guys both had Stranger Things in your final four coming out of this region, but I think for maybe the other 10 of us, it was kind of always going to be Game of Thrones. And if you look at these votes, it was 12-0, 11-1, 9-3, 10-2, and then even 10-1 over Mad Men, to get into the final. So it was kind of, again, just like the other first three regions, was kind of always going to be Game of Thrones. Eddie, why don't you start us off? Do you have, what's your definitive second best show, toughest matchup, and then what's a show that was a sci-fi type show that maybe you would have liked to have seen in there?
Yeah, I mean, so I had South Park over Thrones, so I would say South Park was my favorite, and then Thrones was second. I don't think there were too many matchups that I was really struggling with. I mean, I guess Thrones over South Park. In reality, Thrones is probably a better show, but I love South Park. And then for this one, the sci-fi region, one of the first series that my wife and I rented when she was first pregnant is called Fringe. And I freaking love that show. I think Walter Bishop, the main character on that, is one of the better written characters of any TV series. So I would suggest or recommend Fringe if anyone hasn't seen that. J.J. Abrams produces it. is on the show producing it, and then I think it's what's his name, Pacey from Dawson's Creek is one of the main characters too.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Pacey.
Good recommendation. David, why don't you answer the 3 questions as well there?
I hadn't seen quite a few here, but I did like South Park as well. I always thought it was just too funny. All the things, I don't know, Cartman just always a good show for me. That and The Simpsons. The show for me that I would have liked to see in there, I guess would have fit in there, would have been, I liked Punisher a lot. I don't know if anyone's seen that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that'd have been the one I would have added into it.
That's a good recommendation for sure.
Yeah.
Devin, why don't you go ahead and answer the questions?
I mean, Stranger Things was my number one. My toughest matchup though would have been Game of Thrones versus Westworld. The only reason I picked Game of Thrones over Westworld is because Game of Thrones had 8 really good seasons and Westworld's only had 2 so far, maybe 3. So that was the only reason. But as far as like beginnings of shows, I think Westworld's better than Game of Thrones in the beginning. So it'll just be a tale of time here, whether or not it's actually going to dethrone it or not. No pun intended. But I did like South Park a lot too. South Park is his money. I mean, that's a show I think all of us grew up watching with our friends, was South Park. And then a show that's not on here that I would like to see. And I don't know how much of a following it has, but I really like the show Archer, man. I think that show is hilarious. I don't know who all watches that one, but I randomly got on it one night, man, and I just binged it, and I freaking love that show. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I've heard good things about Archer. Jared, why don't you go ahead and answer the questions?
So I have one alibi. I would also like Eastbound and Down put back into the comedy bracket.
Okay.
But so I think my toughest matchup was Sweet 16, Simpsons against South Park, because like they're both so irreverent, they're both so out there in your face, and they're kind of like cultural phenomenons. Both have movies, both have merchandise and all that. I went Simpsons just because of the longevity, but I gave comments on South Park yesterday. One I would add to this one, I guess, would probably be a newer one, and that is Black Mirror. If you guys have watched Black Mirror, that shit is just mind.
That's a good show.
Yeah, I'm gonna back up on that too. I didn't even
That's
think
a
about
good
Black
one.
Mirror. Good freaking call. That should have been.
That would have gone far for me.
Yeah, that would have been right up there for me too. That's good call, Jared.
I've heard good things about it. Yeah.
Oh, you never watched it? It's only 3 seasons, but dude, it's a complete mind fuck. Everything is extreme technological advancement. Excuse me. And then it's just buck wild.
Yeah, every episode's like its own story. It's really, really good.
Definitely, I'll check it out for sure. So for me, the hardest one was definitely Game of Thrones versus Stranger Things. I do love Stranger Things as well, but it's just like we talked about, it hasn't reached its full, we haven't seen everything from it yet. So Game of Thrones, even though it didn't end great, I still just watching that show was just like such a phenomenon, so that was definitely my hardest. But then Stranger Things would definitively be my second favorite in this region also. Although Walking Dead, I used to love The Walking Dead. Sorry for the zombies, shout out Hammy. But I used to love The Walking Dead. And then it's not Hammy
anymore, by the way.
Sorry, Hopper, my bad. But it's gone downhill for me. I just haven't watched it the last couple seasons. And then Hammy, you brought this into mind when you said Archer. So the show that I would want to add to this region is Bob's Burgers. I think that shit's funny as hell.
Yeah.
I love Bob's Burgers. It is so funny.
That's a good show.
That's what I would add, definitely. Let's move up to our final region. We got about 10 minutes here. We'll go through this one a little quick. Drama 2. This was the most wide open region for me. I'm sure most of you agree. And based off of all the different, finals, the teams in the Final Four that we had, it was all over the place. I would say, so obviously Mad Men is the show that won our bracket, kind of barely beating out a lot of these other shows. My second best definitively would probably be Lost in this one. I don't know that I have a definitive, but Lost is probably the closest. And then Lost versus Mad Men in the round of 32. The second round was difficult. So that was probably for me, we already said a drama that we thought could be added, so we won't waste time with that. But going back down the line here, David or Devin, sorry, why don't you go ahead and give us your next best over behind Mad Men, and then the toughest matchup.
First off, Jared sharing memes in the middle of this, that's not cool, man. But my second best, well, I'm kidding. So I had True Detective coming out. That was my favorite. I had
Also,
Mad Men.
Good.
Yeah, True Detective was awesome. But man, my hardest matchup though was definitely True Detective versus The Wire. Both HBO shows, both awesome. Man, I was struggling that one for a while. That one I had my wife be the tiebreaker on because I couldn't pick. So I wasn't man enough to pick between those two. But yeah, those are the ones I probably would have put those two at the end together. I would have put The Wire over Mad Men.
Okay, yeah. We talked about The Wire at the very end of the last video. It was like literally the last matchup and last show we talked about. So if any of y'all want to hear some thoughts about The Wire, just forward on to an hour and 25 minutes or whatever it was between Eddie and Jared and I. David, why don't you go ahead and give us your toughest and your second best?
Mine was True Detective as well. I think that show's incredible.
Yep.
I don't know. There wasn't too many that were too hard because the ones I liked were matched up against.
Uh-oh, we lost David's camera.
Yeah, David's gone.
We lost Irby's camera. All right, we'll let him finish when he gets back. Jared, why don't you go ahead?
Second best show obviously is Ozark. I don't know how anybody could pick different. Even though season 3 of Ozark, Sweet Virginia, just amazing. And honestly, on my bracket, one of the toughest decisions I had to make was between Lost and Mad Men. Because Lost was one of those, I think that was kind of my first coming of age show. I was 12 or 13 when it came out, and it was one of those I really looked forward to it. That one and Sons of Anarchy were big for me. So those are probably mine. And then as far as drama shows, honestly, I don't know. I'd probably just try to go with Law and Order, something nostalgic that wasn't in here. Or just reinsert my original Peaky Blinders, I guess.
Yeah. All right. David is back. He's returned. Go ahead and finish your what you're saying about your favorite. Well, you said True Detective, obviously. And what was your hardest matchup?
I didn't really have a hard match because all the ones I liked were against shows I hadn't seen before, so it wasn't real difficult for me to choose one.
Okay. Eddie, go ahead and take us home here with your final thoughts, and you can go ahead and give a drama that you felt should have been added since you missed out on the first Drama 1 region.
This is going to be very underwhelming. I didn't really have any disputes. I mean, guess Lost versus Wire were my Elite 8 picks in this region. I went with Lost. I didn't have a lot of tough matchups. To go back to Jared's point on Ozark, so my wife loves that show. And I'll be doing dishes and she'll be watching it, and I'll just get random clips and 5 minutes of it here and there. And that was in season 1. I didn't see most of season 2, and then season 3 came back out, and that show is just it's good. I'll admit that, but the plot lines and storylines on the kids alone, his 2 kids, they're just out there. So yeah, I probably will have to go back and watch season 2. This is my daughter Ellie who's gonna photobomb us right now.
It's all good.
Jared,
More the
I thought
merrier.
you liked Ozark if it's that far out there, and that was kind of your whole reason against Breaking Bad, wasn't it?
Did you say me? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Wasn't that your big argument against Breaking Bad? Now Ozark is way out there. I haven't seen an episode.
Oh yeah. No, so Ozark, it's not necessarily out there because you start with the whole fucking season starts with him laundering money, and then his partner gets killed, and that's how the show begins. Breaking Bad was once Pinkman's girlfriend fucking overdoses, then her dad gets all involved, then he fucking lets these planes crash together, then this plane fucking has debris fall in the pool in fucking Walter's backyard.
I don't know why I don't know why you harp on that one detail, dude.
Yeah. Specifically, how can the debris fall in his pool?
No. So literally, I harp on that. It's a good point. It's a good point, Amy. That was the turning point for me, where I just started like, okay.
Man, the character development in that show is second to none, man. It's insane to watch them go downhill like they do. It's awesome, man. It's such good writing. I'm so impressed with that show.
Yeah.
And that's actually one thing I do love is the development. Actually, one of my favorite characters is the chicken stand owner, that black dude. Like he's just fucking cold and ruthless.
Dude. Yeah, I love that show.
Definitely. All right, we'll take it home. We're running on. We got 3 minutes left here before it cuts me off. I appreciate you guys joining me for our little wrap up here. Since you guys, only the few of you decided to show up here, I'm gonna give you a little sneak peek to our next bracket. Bear with me for 1 second while I pull it up and share my screen here. Okay, let me get it.
I'm worried with this bracket because I don't know how many people are going to be as supportive as I am with where we're going with this one.
You know,
I'm all in.
We're 90s kids, right? Most of us are 90s kids, so we can at least hop on that. Let me zoom in. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'll wait for you all to see this. What do y'all think?
I'm telling you, it's fucking.
Y'all into it or nah?
I have no idea how Snorlax is the #1 seed, but Jesus, I'm down.
Again, don't hate the seeding, or don't hate me. You know, take it up with the selection committee. I just look at my averages as best as I can.
Charizard's going all the fucking way.
This is what we're doing.
I'm so excited. That's gonna be badass.
I'm gonna watch the You know, did you guys know they remastered the Pokemon movie? It's on Netflix now. I'm gonna watch that this week for sure. So that's what we're doing.
Oh yeah, I'm talking Magikarp is going all the fucking way.
Definitely. So I'm gonna send that out probably next week, or maybe I'll drop it on Friday or something. Little fun weekend activity for us. But yeah, guys. Again, we'll close it out, or I'll shut it down here. Appreciate you guys coming in. Look forward for that the Pokemon bracket. All right. Stay safe, guys.
Have a good one.
Later.
Yes.